217 bloody miles per hour. And counting. And breathing. Hard. 224. Down the descent, and up again. So effortless. So fast. It's surreal. 230. As the world hurtles by at warp speed, I glance over at the driver, Bentley and Bugatti CEO Wolfgang Durheimer. The priceless muscle play on his face has all the makings of a viral YouTube video. Approaching a blind crest, Durheimer decelerates wham bang hard, a highly physical, energy-squashing maneuver, 186, 155, 124 miles per hour. That's still way too fast for the anti-Destination League member in the silver Volkswagen Chiron van meandering toward the fast lane. Welcome to the German Autobahn in 2016, where anything still goes but nothing can be taken for granted, especially when you're at the wheel of the Bugatti Chiron, a 1,500 horsepower hypercar roaming its own parallel universe. Speed is both absolute and relative, says Durheimer, as he carefully scans the road ahead. To stay on top of the proceedings, you must constantly readjust your eyes and brain. You see, at 300 km per hour, 186 miles per hour, reaction time and stopping distance are nothing like at 200 km per hour, 124 miles per hour. And you are always out on a limb, because other road users simply don't expect the unexpected, even if it's painted bright red and running on high beam. A current Gen 911 Turbo attempts to give chase, but even at full throttle the silver Porsche has zero chance against a car that can accelerate from 0 to 186 miles per hour in 13.6 seconds. Our W16 powered express vrooms passed it like an invincible video game hero. We're in one of 10 pre-production Chirons, a solid black specimen with striking electric blue trim and matching brake calipers. Durheimer has already spent plenty of time behind the wheel, as has his R&D chief, Willy Nettuschel, a veteran Bugatti engineer who drives a Chiron several times a week. Together with Frank Bauer, former Bugatti development engineer whose claim to fame is to have gone faster than 400 km per hour, 249 miles per hour, more often than any other human being, Nettuschel and Durheimer regularly check the near-perfect mules, fine-tuning this and micro-adjusting that. At less than 2.4 seconds from 0 to 60 miles per hour, the all-wheel drive, 4,400-pound Chiron is virtually as quick as an F1 car, and with a top speed of roughly 261 miles per hour, it's also some 26 miles per hour faster at the top end than the fastest speed ever recorded by an F1 car in an official session. In order to reach its elusive terminal velocity, you need to have the speed key in the on position, the chassis in its lowest setting, the rear rudder fixed in top speed mode, and all 50 onboard computers wide awake. You'll also need somewhere to air it out, somewhere like Volkswagen's Aerolessian Proving Loop, where later this year Bugatti's chief test driver Loris Spikaki will reportedly attempt to set a new production car speed record in the Chiron, 450 km per hour, 280 miles per hour. Even more so than in the Veyron Super Sport, 350 km per hour, 217 miles per hour, is so incredibly accessible now, says a beaming Durheimer. As soon as the 450 km per hour milestone has been established as the new benchmark, 500 km per hour, 311 miles per hour, will be the next focus. That's the direction progress takes, like it or not. As if to prove his point, he makes me lean over to take a closer look at the analog speedo, which terminates at, you guessed it, a completely outlandish 500 km per hour. Conversely, the Chiron is also perfectly capable of puttering through built-up areas in the least aggressive of its 5 modes: lift, EB, for Ettore Bugatti, Autobahn, handling, and top speed, all controlled by a Porsche-style rotary program selector integrated in the steering wheel. Are you ready for a couple of quick changes of direction? Asks Durheimer. Fine by me, even though the speedometer reads about 155 miles per hour. There's a flick to the right, pause, flick to the left, pause. Repeat, and then once more. The Chiron acts as if it is following an invisible magnetic field, prompt, precise, flat, and totally fuss-free. Now let's do this across 3 lanes. Whatever you say, sir. The speed has dropped below 120 miles per hour by now, and Durheimer turns in more aggressively, holds the lock a little longer, and sets the car straight again more affirmatively. No understeer, no oversteer, no comment. It's a new level of high-speed poise. There is no air suspension, no rear-wheel steering, no hydraulic drivetrain mounts to brag about. Instead, the Chiron is underpinned by a relatively straightforward, for a hypercar, all-steel and aluminum double wishbone setup with electronically controlled differentials. But Durheimer says the variable rate steering is what makes all the difference. It automatically adapts to the chosen driving program, is quicker yet more progressively damped, and the feedback provided is more authentic and blunt. The car's biggest dynamic drawback? Its massive turning circle, a legacy transferred from its Veyron predecessor, of which the new model still relates to in more ways than one. We tightened it a bit by tucking the nose in using the rear diff lock, but it is admittedly a characteristic that takes some getting used to, acknowledges Netushel. Unlike the Veyron's mechanical and monothematic exhaust note, the Chiron's heavily revised 8.0-liter W16 has a greater variation of vocal registers. Despite creating more than enough decibel drama to send bystanders scrambling for their smartphones, the mid-engine mauler is surprisingly quiet inside, although there's a more intense full-throttle grumble from behind the firewall. The hard-working set of bespoke Michelins, 285/30 or 20 front 355/25 or 21 rear, which costs only half as much as the previous generation, we're still talking about €15,000 for a fresh 4, drones and haws at speed but rarely shrieks or yells at the limit, and help the Chiron pull 1.5 grams on the skid pad. The speed limit sign at the Wolfsburg exit reads 40 km per hour, 25 miles per hour. It's a narrow, curling, soft shoulder off-ramp. On the approach to this right-hand bottleneck, Durheimer downshifts. A smidgen of liftoff, a tightening nudge at the helm, and voila, we leave behind thin rubber marks from beginning to end. There is no runoff here, Durheimer says, apologizing. But on a racetrack or a proving ground, I love dialing in the handling setup, which now includes an easy-to-drift feature. At the lunch stop in a small village near the border of the former German Democratic Republic, the Chiron sweats off the Autobahn workout with sizzling exhausts, crackling brakes, and gurgling coolant. Heat is an ever-present issue. Predictably, we were facing a major conflict of interest between top-notch aerodynamics and thermal well-being, says Netushel. To solve this dilemma, we installed a record number of 10 different radiators and coolers. Complementing the main horseshoe grille and lower cooling apertures, a hydraulic actuator permanently adjusts the balance of drag and downforce while directing air to the brakes. In addition to the large lateral intake scoops, breathing assistance is also provided via active, underfloor front diffusers and 3 NACA ducts. To further improve brake cooling, clever rotary dissipation shields feature small blades to direct hot air away from the carbon silicon carbide discs. In a parallel move, lateral air curtains generated by slats in the front apron pull the dirty air out of the wheelhouses. The all-aluminum, lightweight 8 and 6 piston calipers by AP Racing are of the bionic kind, and they are wider and larger than before. The stopping distance from 62 miles per hour to 0 is an impressively short 103 feet, but when you're running up on 200 miles per hour, pedal feel, response time, and stamina are what really count. When hustling down hard, the Chiron's tilting air brake boosts the drag coefficient from the base 0.38, 0.35 in top speed mode, to 0.59. The Chiron's weight distribution of 43-57% front/rear suggests a nicely composed handling balance, and several belly strakes made of rubber and carbon fiber support the directional stability at speed. Chassis maker Dallara, of Veyron and IndyCar fame, will again bake the new carbon fiber monocoque, which is claimed to be as rigid as a Porsche LMP1 Le Mans racer. The outer skin is made from the same material and can be painted, lacquered, or both. The enamel over silver front emblem weighs a cheeky 5.5 ounces, and buyers are invited to look at 39 trim colors before approaching the tailor-made department. Presumably to satisfy the marketing department, the Chiron boasts 4 different interior ambience settings: Icon, Performance, Cruise, and Classic. The seat design can be relatively rudimentary, emphatically sports, or fully electric. The sound system is courtesy of Acuten, which will tune amplifier and speakers to match specific cabin surfaces. Since the slim center stack is occupied with climate control buttons, it's on the driver to dial in most commands, from infotainment requests to manual up and down shifts. The screen to the left of the Speedo displays such vehicle-related data as revs, torque delivery, and fuel level. The monitor on the right deals with navigation, music, and the phone. As the speed increases from fast to stupid fast, driver information is reduced step by step to nothing but RPM and kilometer per hour. Even though the Chiron celebrates ultimate luxury by means of fine hides, amazing surface finishes, and beautifully executed details, it isn't without idiosyncrasies. There is no head-up display and no assistance system worth mentioning, though there are enough onboard cameras and sensors to deal with visibility issues. There are also several in-cab space oddities. The cargo hold is tiny, and a special tool is required to mechanically clean the outside of the rear window. Despite a list price north of €2.4 million, 230 of the planned run of 500 cars are reportedly already spoken for, before a single customer has driven one. It's easy to understand why, like the Veyron before it, the Chiron occupies its own unique space. It is about extreme speed, as in time warp acceleration way beyond the threshold of lesser machines. Add to this a large measure of style, refinement, and exclusivity, and it's not hard to understand why every week at least one ultra-high net worth individual takes the bait, even if this car needs a circuit or a private airstrip to show off properly.